everybody. I'm Leanne McFadder. I'm the pastor's wife from the Crossing Worship Center. I'd like to take a few minutes today to share a few things that the Lord has laid on my heart. And just like you, we are also exercising social distancing. So with that said, if you have a few minutes, why don't you come on in and let's talk for a few minutes.
Okay, y'all, here we are in my favorite place to sit in the house. I'm glad y'all are here with me. What I wanted to talk to you a little bit about today is, this morning I woke up and just very, very simple. I looked outside and I thought, my goodness, it's such a beautiful day. I mean, it was blue, sunny skies. I heard the birds singing. We had squirrels running all over the place up here in the woods. And, I looked out and all of the trees had those real pretty green, tender leaves on them. I had a lot of trees that actually had the little blooms on them that were just budding everywhere. Our orange trees are budding. Our azaleas are in full bloom. And I was just kind of sitting there thinking, this is beautiful, I love it. And then all of a sudden, right in the middle of that, my thoughts just completely turned and it was like reality hit. And my mind went straight to this global pandemic that we're dealing with right now. And honestly, I just want to be transparent with y'all. My stomach just flipped. It went into knots and I just felt this heaviness come over me. And I thought, here we sit, and if I didn't know better, if I didn't have the outreach of the media, I didn't have TV or whatever, I would have no idea that this was going on. But I just got sick on my stomach thinking about how many people right now are actually fighting for their life. I mean, the very moment that we're speaking right now, there's people that are hanging by a thread on a respirator. I've thought about our children. I've thought about our church. I've thought about all of this social distancing, trying to make sure we're prepared as best we can without being overly panicked in the situation, but at the same time using wisdom and making sure that we are prepared. And anyway, so that was just a roll of emotions. That's just what came to me this morning. It was kind of like all of a sudden reality hit this morning. And I got to thinking about that. A lot of us in these situations, I've heard several people mention, my anxiety is at an all-time peak. I'm depressed. I miss being around people. All of these emotions that are just going rampant, with the situation that we're dealing with right now. And I thought about some of these things and I thought back to times when before, we always say this, that there's always something that we've gone through and inevitably we'll say something like, this for sure, this is going to be the thing that takes me under. This is going to be the straw that breaks the camel's back. And God's always been faithful. He has brought us through every single time. I'm a living testimony. There was times in situations that things hit me without a warning, just like now. It seems like all of a sudden, one day we're okay, and the next day we're in a global pandemic, and all of these things are going on. Everything is shut down. I mean, it's not something that you can just get away from. It's not like, okay, let's get in the car and let's go ride to Dothan and go shopping, or, it's about that time of year, you want to make reservations and get a cabin somewhere in the mountain and go spend a week. You're not going to do that. You're not getting away from this. This is everywhere. And what seemed to just take us by surprise has just built and built and built in our emotions and our fears and our anxiety. And I have to stop and try to bring it all in order. I have to stop and bring balance to the situation, so to speak. You ask me, do I have times that I fear? Absolutely. This morning, this afternoon, there was legitimate things that popped up and happened, and fear wanted to grip. But I had to bring it back into balance. And I had to think my way through it. And then I had to think, Lord, you brought us here for such a time as this. You have brought us here for a purpose and a reason. You made no mistakes. God is not doing this to be ugly to us. I believe God is doing this to get our attention for whatever that reason is. And I'm not here to go into all of that tonight, but I do believe that God is trying to wake up his people. It's time for us to dig in the trenches. It's time for us to stand up for what we believe. It's time for us to be the Christians that we're called to be. It's time for the church to be the church. It's time for us to stop talking two ways out of our mouth and stop with the gossiping and stop with the ugliness. It's time for us to get back to the basics and be that which God has called us to be. And so going back a little bit with what I was talking about with the stress and the anxiety and the uncertainties of the situation, thinking about that beautiful day today, and then it was just interrupted by those thoughts. But God reminded me right in the middle of it, it was that still small voice that we hear that's just so peaceful. And he said to me, I've got everything under control. I'm going to be here for you. I'm going to see you through just like I did last time, and the time before that, and the time before that. And so I looked in some scriptures, and there was actually 10 scriptures in this chapter, and I'm not going to read all of them to you tonight, but I wanted to read one little part to you, and it actually is in Matthew chapter 6, and I'm going to read verses 33 and 34. Now, I'm actually going to read this out of the NLT version, the New Living Translation, only because for me, it was just the way it was spoken to me was very understandable. So it says here in verse 33, it says, and he will give them to you if you give him first place in your life and live as he wants you to. So don't be anxious about tomorrow. God will take care of your tomorrow too. Live one day at a time. So I'm thinking about this, whatever it is that you have need of from the Lord, whatever it is that has got you in a situation right now to where you feel like the waves are over your head, whatever it is that has you completely overwhelmed in this current situation, I want to tell you, God is not a man that he should lie. He is going to take care of us. We cannot worry about tomorrow in the sense that we lose our peace for today. God said that his grace is sufficient for today. Now, we can't take yesterday's grace and drag it into today. Yesterday's grace was for yesterday. Today's grace is for today. And we can't try to borrow from tomorrow's grace. God's grace is sufficient for today, for this moment. I want you to be encouraged with everything that's going on. I know we got people in the hospital right now that would just love to be able to be quarantined basically in their home. They would love to be out of that hospital room, but they can't for right now. But God is omnipresent. He's able to be in all places at all times, and I'm so thankful for that. And before we wrap things up, I just want to encourage you, hit your knees in prayer, church. If you haven't prayed in a while, now is the time to get back to that altar. Now is the time to call to the Lord. He will hear our cry and he will answer us. He is going to make a way where seemingly right now there is no way. God is always faithful in everything that he does. I love y'all so very much. If there's anything that we can do, we're here for you.